Well, my AC unit is running. Makes me really happy. I pulled the cover off. I was going to pull the PTAC unit out of the sleeve. I was thinking about maybe replacing it with a small window air conditioner. And I saw that the control unit, the double-sided tape had failed and it had fallen. And I think it may have shorted against the case. So I just moved it, reset the breaker, and it fired right up. So couldn't be happier. In a prior video, I told you I wasn't going to work on the layout for a year. Part of that was driven by my air conditioner here not working and it being 116 degrees outside. But now the air conditioner is working. I don't know how long it'll work. But while it's working, I think I'm going to go ahead and try to get a little work done out here in the layout. Maybe do some basic scenery work. Well, I've sifted some dirt from my yard. Here I have some sifted dirt from Sedona, Arizona. And a few years back I was at a rest stop and I scooped a bunch up and put it in this container. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to take this sifted Sedona dirt and put it in these containers here. And then I'm going to mix these two together to try to get a shade of dirt that matches my photo backdrop. I have the sifted dirt from my yard. I have the sifted Sedona dirt. And now what I want to do is mix the Sedona dirt into the dirt from my yard and try to match that up. All right, I have some my yard dirt here. I'm going to add in some Sedona dirt, and then I'll shake it up and see what I have. All right, so I'll try that. What a dust. I don't think I'm quite there yet. All right, I have just about a 1-to-1 ratio of Sedona dirt and yard dirt. And you can kind of see how the colors match up. Now over here, it seems to be a little bit closer match. I think that's going to work pretty well. I'm going to spray the retaining wall with this gray primer. And this is just a base coat. This will seal the plaster. And, you know, I can add details after I have the base coat down. I have the gray base coat on the retaining wall and the tunnel portal. So now what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint the track. I'm going to use this Rust-Oleum camouflage flat earth brown. I think a lot of guys use this for their track. And it makes sense because the dark brown color, I mean, you could leave the rails this color and it would be pretty close to being accurate. And it'd be a good base color for the ties as well. You know, I'll go in and paint a bunch of the ties different colors, but this flat brown is going to be a good base color. I have the backdrop taped off for this section. And I'm going to paint the track from about here down to the corner. I don't want to get any paint on my rock castings. Once I get a coat of paint on while it's still wet, I'm going to take this cork and run down the rails and try to get the brown paint wiped off the top of the rails. I've run my cork over the top of the rails and got them cleaned up pretty well. For the most part, I think it's cleaned up pretty well. So now I'll just let this stuff dry for a couple hours and I'll pull the masking off. I use these Vallejo paints. And with Vallejo paint, in my experience, you have to use their thinner. And I mixed up several colors. I started with a color, then I would add another color. So although I only have 2 cups, I've actually done up 5 different colors. And so I have the track ties all painted. It's the Proto 2000 GP30, one of 4 that I did the DCC, LED, and sound install on. I'm out here working. I just like to have something running on the tracks. So I have this section of track painted. I have the ties painted. So I think what I'm going to do next, I have some wax paper here. I need to get down in behind here and get that painted, get that white plaster painted. And then after that, well, I think maybe I'll put some dirt down. I have wax paper covering up the backdrop. And I have the track taped off. So I think I am ready to start putting down some dirt. So I'll use full strength white glue and apply that to the surface and then just sprinkle dirt on it. Now I'm not going to get too close to the castings here, but I want to get the dirt back against the backdrop so I can deal with that now and I don't have to deal with it later. So I'll probably come out to maybe like here. All right. And I'll just keep it. Once this glue dries, I'll go over it again with scenic glue and really lock this dirt down. And I'll just continue on for the rest of the length here. I have a lot of dirt on there, so I'll let that dry overnight and I'll brush off the excess and try to reclaim as much of it as possible. The dirt's been glued down. I applied the full strength white glue to the surface, then sprinkled the dirt on. Now I'm going to secure it in place. So I'm going to use some 70% isopropyl and saturate the dirt. And what that'll do is relieve any surface tension and allow the scenic glue to penetrate the dirt and hold everything in place. All right, I made up my own scenic glue, which is nothing more than white glue mixed with water with a few drops of dish soap added. And now I'll apply the scenic glue to my dirt, and when this dries, this dirt will be firmly secured to my terrain. Now I have some areas here where I have too much glue. You can see where it's puddling. I just take a paper towel and just go in and blot it off. Well, I have the wax paper removed. Now the dirt, the glue, still hasn't dried, so you can see where it's starting to here, where it's lightened up a little bit. So it's going to take a few hours for it to completely dry. And once it's dry, we'll see how well the colors match the backdrop. I've mixed up a real thin orange wash, and I'm just using it on the spikes. I have the rust wash on the spikes and the tie plates. I think adding the wash will help accentuate that spike detail. This is what I'll be using for ballast. See, it's kind of a mix. I think that'll look all right. So now that I have the spike detail highlighted with a wash, I think I can go ahead and start applying the ballast. I'm going to ballast the track from about here down to there. I don't want to get the ballast forward of where the rock castings are, because I'm going to have to get in there and paint all that stuff, and I don't want to get paint on my ballast, so I'll pull up a little bit short of the castings. Now, I don't have very much experience doing ballast. The only thing I've put ballast on is my programming track. So I think my plan is don't put too much on. I think it'll be harder to take it off than to add a little bit more. So I'm going to try to be careful not to overdo it. I think this is about as good as I'm going to get this ballast. I've tried to get all the crumbs out of the rail web and off the ties. I'm sure I probably missed some, but it could probably be a little bit neater, but I expect you get better with practice. So I'm going to go ahead and lock this down. I'm going to saturate the ballast with alcohol, and then I'm going to glue it down with scenic cement. I have the scenic glue on the ballast, and it looks like I washed it out a little bit in a few spots where you can see the road beds coming through. So I'll probably have to touch it back up. I'll let this dry, and then I'll fix it wherever I need to fix it. I have the ballast all glued down. And that's dried for a few hours, but drying overnight, I'll make sure everything is secure, and then I'll check it. And if I need to add some additional glue, well, I can do that. And I'll check it for any ballast crumbs that need to be removed. And I got a hole right there where my feeder comes up through the bench work. Probably want to do something with that. And I'm also considering making an India ink wash and applying a wash to these ties. I don't know if I'll do that or not, but I'm thinking about it. Having my air conditioning working absolutely energized me. And as soon as it was running, I thought, well, I should probably take advantage of that, do a little bit of work. And so this is the first bit of scenery on my layout. Now it's not done. It needs some vegetation, and obviously the retaining wall needs a bunch of work, but it's the first step. So I got some dirt down on the terrain, and I have the track ballast in place for this section. I have the first coat of paint on the retaining walls and the tunnel portal. So it's a start. So thank you for watching. And now that my AC is running, well, I'm probably going to get out here and do a little bit of work when I'm not working on the house. So thanks for watching.